Yo, what up there, Splash crew? Now, if you were Portland fans, and you really might get really, just in general, really offended by this video, please hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications and like the vid, because let's get it, guys. And if I really am about to offend some of you Portland fans, since you were a little kid and now are adult or still a little kid, just leave the video, bro. Just leave it. It's not very hard. Or if I offend some of your favorite players, like maybe just CJ McCollum, throwing that name out there for instances. Or just maybe some random player on the Portland Trailblazers, just leave the video. Heck, I might even throw my dude, Carmelo Anthony, into the table of context here. But yeah, though, guys, with all of this officially out of the way, let's get it.
No. Them blue strip honeys, I can't get enough. Them blue strip honeys, all these women, I can't get enough. Taking trips across the country, I can't get enough. Give me go life, I want it, I can't get enough.
To be honest with y'all, guys, Portland Trailblazers to me are maybe the one of the the most overrated teams in our century of the NBA, just because of all the factors. Now, I get it. They have Carmelo Anthony, CJ McCollum, and Damian Lillard and Yusuf Nurkic. Now, let me start with the big player who was added last season, Carmelo Anthony. Number one of all, Carmelo Anthony isn't bad for Portland. I don't think he's being bad, and I think that's really what Portland needed, was a six-man player. And I said that's something that every team has, but Portland never had. In general, there's a lot of stuff that Portland needs. He's one seat away from being in the championship game with Portland, but it's hard not to say they still don't have their problems, and I really know the problems. Now, I have one way to fix it, and it doesn't involve any trades, but it involves their offseason next year if he's a free agent. Because really, my main thing with Portland is that they won't win the championship this year. It's official. In my opinion, while Dame may be an MVP conversation, Carmelo Anthony is playing on a great level this year. My main thing has been Portland won't go anywhere further than what they are, and that's very sad, because Carmelo Anthony may be entering the twilight of his NBA career, and when he hits the retire button, we will all be remembering his great successful years and his sadly tankable years, such as in OKC, New York, Houston, and his great years such as Denver and in New York again. But we will also remember those horrible years again, like in New York, OKC, and of course Houston. So yeah, now let's get on to CJ McCollum, who I don't think is a bad player at all, but my main thing is he's not an all-star player, and that's one thing that Portland needs to fix. Number one of all is that CJ McCollum is a great player, but here's the difference between Russ with Paul George or Kevin Durant and Steph with Clay and Steph. Those two players I've just mentioned, or even Bradley Beal with Russ, are all-star players. They're all-star candidates. Not CJ McCollum, on the other hand. He's a great player, but he's not an all-star player in my opinion, and the NBA sees it too. He's a great number two when needed, but isn't an MVP player. And really, now let's go on to Dame time, because really Damian Lillard isn't overrated, but Portland is still overrated again, because Portland in general, I know people say Dame needs to leave, but Portland has never been able to build a great winning roster around Damian Lillard, because they've never gotten, again, all-star players. They almost have it, and the best year for Portland to win was in 2019, and they failed in the playoffs, losing, getting swept, which I sadly was disappointed in Dame and Portland in general, and lost all hype in them winning at least a championship in Portland because of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. Because really, that's been my main thing with Portland, that Damian Lillard can play all he wants and be a great player and great scorer all he wants, but him not having a second all-star player to him is very bad. Because really, the last time Portland was actually in contention before 2019 makes it much more sadder, because in general the player is now gone, not dead, but retired. Because really, my main thing with Dame is he's a great player and playing on a great level, even an MVP level this season. But his main problem has been, again, there is no all-star players on Portland except for Carmelo Anthony, who is riding the bench at this point. So really, ending his twilight of his career. So really, it stands at this point. Portland in general, what is the problem? And I'm about to explain how to fix it, but we need to talk about the last time Portland, in my opinion, was really in general a contention title, which was, of course, when they had, of course, LaMarcus Aldridge. Now, LaMarcus Aldridge is now officially retired, but that was the last time Portland was ever in contention for me to win a championship since 2019, before 2019 in general. Why? Because LaMarcus Aldridge was an all-star player at this time and in his prime, and him and Damian Lillard could battle easily against any big man and shooting guard duo. James Harden and the Houston Rockets, they had that. And here's been the problem with them. Number one of all, again, Portland hasn't found another all-star player to pair with Damian Lillard, and that stays the problem. If you found another all-star player that you could pair with Damian Lillard, I would say Portland can be a 4th or 5th seeded team, but they haven't found one since LaMarcus Aldridge, who was there way before Damian Lillard was, and that's the sad part, that LaMarcus Aldridge was the last time Portland was a great team, and they lost him, of course, and went to the Spurs, hoping he can win him a championship. And really, there's one player I really feel that they can get and put them over the level to at least get even better and just maybe get them at least a title. Because really, my main thing has been that Portland hasn't gotten any all-star players, and I love Yusuf Nurkic, but he is not an all-star player, even though he's playing the center position, which is okay-ish, but him scoring and not adding any defense has been a problem. With LaMarcus Aldridge, it was defense and offense and an all-star player. So let's compare that to Portland without him. It's just Damian Lillard, an all-star player. And the one player I really feel that can fix Portland is DeMarcus Cousins. You're probably going to say, why DeMarcus Cousins when he's doing great with the Clippers? If the Clippers let him go or in free agency, he's a free agent next year. I don't believe that's going to happen though. Portland is stupid for keep on saying no to DeMarcus Cousins. I get you have Yusuf Nurkic at center. Play Yusuf Nurkic at power forward, or maybe DeMarcus Cousins at power forward. Because he adds something that Portland has not had it, and that is another all-star player to pair with Damian Lillard. I really feel that DeMarcus Cousins with, of course, Damian Lillard can be a great duo with CJ McCollum, Carmelo Anthony, and Yusuf Nurkic. That team can really rival in the Western Conference and be at least a championship contender team around Denver, Clippers, and the Lakers. Because really, is what makes them good. And they need defense. And do not tell me Boogie Cousins is not a defensive player, because he is. He plays offense and defense, and that's what sadly Portland has been missing. Defense more than offense. Now, of course, DeMarcus Cousins won't have to do that much of course, his offense, but will have to do a lot more defense, and that's not been a problem for him, as he can do both, and I've not seen Yusuf Nurkic do a lot of defense, and maybe that might be the problem with Yusuf Nurkic, is that he hasn't played enough defense. And really, again, the main thing is that they need another all-star player to pair with Damian Lillard, and maybe with DeMarcus Cousins coming with Damian Lillard, they can have another all-star year. Heck, maybe even Kevin Love. I'm throwing him into the table to get on there. If they don't want DeMarcus Cousins, at least go after Kevin Love, a player with the NBA championship, and he can make y'all even better. Because really, what is Portland's future without Damian Lillard? And that's what the main thing has been with Portland. That's all.